ducked off low key, yeah, you know me. Kickin' with Tyree, hit a three like Kyrie.
Quick, I'm Tyree Pope's third. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I host this show called Kicking It With Tyree. I'm also a writer and director as well.
Oh
So
my goodness, very nice to meet you, Tyree. How you doing?
great to meet you as well. I'll just get right to it. I don't know how much time we have, so
Don't
uh,
worry. Yeah.
I binge watched this show all last weekend. And I loved it. I thought it was an amazing show, very well done, great
Oh,
twist as
right?
well.
It's
Great twist.
good.
Did not see it coming at all.
Neither
So,
did I. I was when I got the script, I was like, what? It sets it up really good for the rest of, hopefully for, whatever is to come.
yeah. So you play Ray Szymanski, um, and this show is kind of set in 1977 Cold War Moscow. How did you get ready for this role? Did you do any research, and how did you kind of ground in that mindset of the Cold War?
Yeah, no, I mean, what I did a bunch of research. I got a reading list from David Iserson, who's one of the showrunners, and I read two different books called The Cold War: A New History. So, two, and both of them are huge. I read a book called The Russians, which is all about what it was like to be in the USSR, like during the 70s. There were a ton of The Spy and the Traitor, Million Dollar Spy. There were some great literary pieces out there about this time period. But what's so interesting is that so much of the Cold War research I did focused around the 50s and the 60s, because that's when the
Mhm.
Cold War was like really dangerous, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, and so much was tense. So by the time you get to 1977, like when this show is set, and I think it's so brilliant that Susanna and David put it in this time, is that spies were starting to be seen as a little unnecessary, but we had to keep them because the other side had them. So now we're in this arms race of people. Like, we have to like make sure that our spies are still going because their spies are still going. But the book, The Spy and the Traitor, has just these great anecdotes about a lot of these operations failing completely. Like they never work. You get this gadget and then it falls apart and nothing ever gets done. I think our view of spies, like from James Bond or what have you, is so romanticized as kind of like a propaganda piece for, like the American CIA government is like doing a great job. Don't worry, you're safe at home. But then you get into the actual nitty-gritty of it, and these people are just trying to piece together how to stay ahead of this other side that doesn't really have the tech fully available. It's kind of hinted at in the show where Dane says, if all the spies in the world were to disappear, the world would keep on going as it is. So why are you really doing this? And it comes down to a question of character-driven ego, and I just think the show does a great job at accentuating uh, how delicate that balance of necessity versus filling one's own self
Mm.
comes to me. Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. And your character, for me, I looked at your character as like an observer. Like
Yeah.
you were very observant as a character, and that was almost like your character's superpower in that way. Um,
Yeah.
how did you approach playing someone whose like superpower comes from like observation, rather than action? And what did you borrow from kind of your theater background to
Oh,
help with that?
I mean, what's interesting, I think Ray is like a weirdly ominous presence, like because the entire reason that he's there in the rooms that Dane is in is that if anything happens to Dane, Ray can immediately take over. So
Mhm.
Ray is this sort of like hovering reminder of the replaceability of anyone. Like
Mhm.
he's just there to take notes and understand so that way the machine can keep running. Everyone's expendable. And I think that was a really, first of all, I think that's an interesting role. And secondly, I think it's a really interesting role to dress up the way they dressed me up with, a big mustache and, like almost comically loud clothes. It's what the
Mhm.
show does so well of these high stakes, dark themes, but with this twist of levity and fun that makes it engaging and allows you to open yourself up to the narrative. I thought it was brilliantly done.
Mhm. There was a point where I was like, why does he look like Elton John? It's like, she was like, I was like, why does he actually look like Elton John?
Ah, that's
Isn't he
really
supposed to
funny.
be undercover? But
No, I know the idea that that was undercover for 1977 is hilarious. And yet, a lot of people, that's what they were, that was the facial hair they were choosing, which is,
mm, um, so there was a point in the show where I felt like the characters' like vulnerability shifted in a way,
Hmm.
and it was when the nanny asked him how was his day.
Oh, dude.
So
Yeah.
so that really stuck out to me. And I was like, okay, so what was going on with your character right there? It is a character that's going through so much in his mind, and when he comes home, he's kind of just worried about his child and his wife. But for the first time, it felt like the whole season that somebody was like, "How are you doing?" or "How was your day?" and how was that moment?
Wow, man. Thank you. Thank you for no, that was one of my favorite moments filming was I was playing the scene and then Ali, who was directing that episode, Ali Pankiw, uh came up after one of the takes and said, "When was the last time someone asked you how your day was?" And it just completely broke open that scene for me of like that was a real turning point of I think Ray has survived so long by compartmentalizing his life. He's got his work and he's got his family, and never shall the two mix, which is why it's so interesting at the end of this season. The twist that happens is going to be very interesting because they have to mix.
Hmm.
But for, to come home and be asked about his day is something that never happens with Cheryl. Cheryl obviously asks about the nitty-gritty details of what his job is. Oh, so you found a mole. Oh, so this person's working for this. But it's never an emotional connection. Well, it hasn't been for a long time. I'm not saying that it never was that. I do think there's real love in that marriage. But I think, yeah, I think a piece of Ray's stubborn coping mechanism is broken open in that moment. I'm so glad you pointed out that moment, dude. I love that was a thank you. Yeah,
That
that's
was a
deep.
moment that really stood out to me, and I was like, oh, like this is a transitioning for this character, and you can kind of see from that moment everything kind of trickles down, and you kind of
Yeah.
see the twist and everything that's
Yeah, the
going
episode
on.
after
Yeah.
he has the guts to tell Cheryl, it's going the way that you always want it to. He starts
Hmm.
cracking a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking his mind, standing up for himself a little bit more. And
A little bit. Yeah.
so for you, I saw that you were in Harry Potter and the Cursed
Oh,
Child
yeah.
as well. So how was it going from doing theater to doing this big production set with Emilia Clarke and Haley Lu? How was
Dude,
that?
it was the best. I mean, like Harry Potter was before the pandemic. It was actually, I
Hmm.
think the last theater show that I did was back then. But that was my first job out of college. It was joining, well, here's what I'll say. It was joining a larger story, which was very
Hmm.
exciting, to join a family of like a universe of stories. But something that I've enjoyed so much in my career since then has been joining stories that are completely original, like Ponies. Like there's no book, there's no pre-existing IP that this exists to. And so, I mean, obviously, Emilia Clarke and Haley Lu Richardson and Vic Michaelis and Adrian Lester, like all these people on paper are so intimidating, so talented, and so great. And then you meet them and they're the coolest people in the world. They're just the kindest, sweetest, most giving actors and artists. Like I genuinely had the best time filming this. Um yeah, it didn't feel different. It didn't feel intimidating as soon as I got on that set because when I say that we had the best time making this thing, we really did. And I hope that comes across, in moments where, like, for example, all of the bubble scenes, like where we're like trading top secret information,
Mhm.
like they're so serious, but we could barely keep a straight face through any of those takes. We were like having the best time, man. It was just the best. Yeah.
Uh, and my last question I have for you is, so for Ray Szymanski, if there is a season two, how would you like to see his arc continue?
Man, I don't know. I trust these writers with my life, so obviously they'll have better ideas than anything I can come up with. But I think there's something really compelling about he's gone through an entire season now of being so bubbled off from the rest of the world. And as you're saying, that one moment with Evie is a little crack in the armor. I would just love to see him take a little bit more agency with his own life and, his moral compass is so stuck where he thinks north is. I would love to see it get wobbled around a little bit and him have to make choices as opposed to simply just taking direction. Like it would be, I don't know. That would be cool.
Yeah, I see that as well. I felt like the end of the season for that character was him kind of breaking out of that shell in a way, going
Yeah.
to the show alone, and then obviously I'm not gonna try and spoil the show, but
No, no,
like that whole last
no.
episode felt like he was kind of breaking out and kind of seeing the cracks within certain things. And I think in the season two, it'd be great to see your character evolve and keep going. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing this with me, and
Sorry, thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you, man. Yeah,
Thank you so much for watching and thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
no problem, man. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you
much,
guys.
Tyree.
No problem. You guys have
Have
a
a
good
good
day.
one.
Ducked off low key, yeah, you know me. Kicking with Tyree, hit it three like Kyrie.